Hello Begoners! Today we're gonna have a quickie. Today I want to show you how I propagate my Monstera species Peru. This plant came into my life this year when I made my basic bitch plant haul. I bought a bunch of plants that most people would consider boring plants, like pothos and scindapsus and things like that. I find them to be beautiful plants, and I bought them for a grow wall that I was making. But anyway, I call this a basic plant because here in France, it's really common. I've seen it at many greenhouses, and this one I purchased for $9.99. I was educated in the comments that day because there were a lot of Americans especially who were like, oh my God, that plant is so expensive in America. It's been on my wish list for so long. So then I did a video specifically about this plant. It's part of my Meet the Houseplants series where I introduce like all of the plants in my apartment, and I talk about their care and my experience with them. In my experience, this is a really easy plant to care for, and in my experience, it's easy to propagate. Once again, I was educated on the fact that most people do not believe that this plant is easy to propagate, and that is why it's so expensive. You're wrong! You're wrong, and I'm gonna show you why you're wrong. I'm gonna show you what I do. It's really simple. The first time that I tried to propagate this plant, I made a boo-boo. I did the wrong thing. I took a cutting, and in my video I say that this is a way to propagate the plant. I'm gonna disagree with myself. I'm gonna admit to my wrongs and say that there is an easier, better, more dependable way to propagate this plant. So after that video, in order to prove people wrong, I put a cutting of this in water, and it was in that water, and it sat, and it sat, and it sat. It stayed alive for like 3 weeks, but I never saw the slightest hint of a root at all, even though 2 nodes were submerged in the water. So I took that same cutting, and I used a method that I have used in the past for Hoya cuttings, and turns out it worked pretty well for Monstera species Peru as well. Okay, so put this guy aside. This is the first cutting that I took just after I made that video. So this sat in water for 3 weeks, didn't show a single sign of root growth, but then what I did, because I didn't have any bags at the time, I took food storage container and I filled it with some damp perlite. It's just like your good old-fashioned food container with some perlite and some water. There's nothing special in here. It's just faucet water. It's just tap water. Good old-fashioned Lille tap water. And after 1 week, it started to grow roots. So as you can see, this is a very long root. It's doing pretty well in here. And I'm giving it a little more time, but it's just doing fantastic. It took about 1 week for this root to start growing. And honestly, I just put it in this container with the wet perlite. I kind of tried to submerge the nodes of the stem in the damp perlite. Then I put my lid on it, and yes, this lid is sealed. And I just put it under my grow lights. Done. That's it. And I open it like once a week, maybe, just because I'm so curious and I want to see the roots. In fact, I think I haven't opened this in 2 full weeks until this moment. So I have, I'm not worried about rot or anything. And then I decided to give it a second shot, and I bought some plastic baggies. This has been in here, okay, I put the date on it, since November 15th. What's today? December 8th. Is today. Do the math. It took about 2 weeks before I finally opened this bag to check on it. And of course, oops, I forgot. I also have a Hoya Deikii cutting in here. Uh-oh, we're becoming really close friends now. Uh-oh. As you can see, after 2 weeks, it is putting out roots in multiple places. So you can see there's some roots here, some roots here with some perlite on them. It's not a problem. You don't have to take the perlite off the roots when you decide to pot this plant. I want the roots to develop just a little longer, just to ensure that it's really going to take to some soil mix when I pot it up. So I'm gonna leave it in here for a couple more weeks, then I'll put it in a pot with some regular potting mix that I would use. If you want to know what kind of potting mix that I use for this plant, you can check out my video about Monstera species Peru. And that's it. That's the story. Let me get my camera to show you a close-up of exactly like kind of how I submerge the roots in the perlite. It's pretty simple. It's exactly what it sounds like. There's some condensation on the bag, but you can see these are the roots. The light is glaring. These are the roots. I just kind of push them into the perlite or like pile the damp perlite up onto the roots. And that's it. The end. My Begonia is also doing really well in this environment. It's putting out some new roots and it's putting out a tiny leaf. Usually do that. Just blow some air into there and I seal it up completely. I don't leave. Some people do, I don't. Some people leave a little bit of it open, but I just don't. I blow the thing full of my own breath, I seal it, and I'll leave it like that for 2 weeks. And then when I come and visit it, it's got some happy little roots going. Ta-da! So that's how I propagate my Monstera species Peru. Yeah, it's easy peasy. I wouldn't suggest doing it just in water, like water propagation, even though I did say you can do that in my Monstera species Peru video. I'm super sorry, I got it wrong, and now I'm correcting myself. The best way to do it, in my experience, is to put it in a little bit of damp perlite, seal it up, put it in some very bright indirect light, and you're good to go. I put mine under my grow lights because that's the best place in my apartment for like rooting cuttings right now. But you could also put it in a windowsill as long as the windowsill isn't like freezing cold. Enough rambling. You can follow me on Twitter and you know, suggest video ideas and things like that if you want on my Twitter account. You can join the Discord community, bunch of nice people over there, friendly conversation, and you can also subscribe. I guess that's a thing that people do on YouTube. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. Did I keep it short enough? Do you think I kept it short enough? We're about to make a video together. Are you ready to make a video with me? Oh, sweetie. So this cat's name is Worm, but she's also known as Mimi, Me Too, because she's very involved. Quit it. Please don't do that. Get out. I'm busy. And leave me alone. Those are all the names that she's familiar with. Just say hi. We'll wait for it to focus on. Oh, look at that. Look at those pretty eyes. Pretty eyes. What a beautiful kitty. Oh, they can see my name and address. I guess I'll have to blur that out. Oh, sweetie. I love you too. Oh, no. I appreciate it, but I did shower today.